on the National Banking for Financing Infrastructure and Development Bill today. I stand here in support of this bill because this is something that has been done before. This is not as innovative as Mr. Jain Sinha was making it out to be. But I think it's finally some step in the right direction by this government. And I just have few questions to ask so that they're flagged, because this banks like this have been done before. The IDBI was in 1964, ICICI, FICI were all banks which were only started for supporting infrastructure. And they have failed, they've had huge challenges. So I think the intention of starting this bank may be very good, but I think there are few issues I would like to flag to the Honorable Minister. My first question to the Honorable Minister would be, there's a sovereign guarantee being given to this. Now, the idea of the sovereign guarantee to give low-cost loans is a very, very good attempt. But my question to the Honorable Finance Minister is, if you eventually are looking to dilute from 100% ownership and bring the Government of India's stake only to 25, 26%, then what happens to the sovereign guarantee? So when you will not own 75%, will Government of India still be the sovereign guarantee? Then the ownership is not with the government. So why are we giving sovereign guarantee? Or if you could kindly explain what is the thinking of the government? Because the DIF is like the government. I think it's a very sensitive. People are going to look at you with a lot of hope. My second question is the chairman. I appreciate that you're bringing in professionals, going to give them very high salaries. It's a very, very good and a forward-thinking step. But my concern is, with this ownership diluting, how will the government decide who is the right professional for this? So what will be the category and how? I mean, you're saying professional. It's too vague, and I think we must protect our stakeholders after all those NPS that we've had in infrastructure. I think we really have to take every step very, very carefully. So entire board and the head of the bank is something which I'm still feeling a bit uneasy about, because I don't see the clarity. I'm sure you've thought it through with very good intentions, but if you could kindly throw some light. Because ICICI, Axis Bank, Yes Bank, between the private and the public sector banks, we've actually had a roller coaster in the last few years. So I think if you could clarify those checks and balances of the board and the chairman is exceptionally critical. Now, this is a very, I'm just trying to think, how would I place this point to you? If you were in the opposition, and I think if UPA was here and we brought in a bill which had no, when I read it in 35A, there is no CAG, there is no CAC, there is no CVC, there is no CBI. The intent is very, very good. But the whole point is, do you think if you were in opposition, for all the times that I've heard when you all were in the opposition, would you allow a bill to pass without all these administrators not watching? And a government which talks about complete transparency and accountability, why would you not want it? And why are we running away from transparency? What is wrong in having these? The intent is good. I appreciate, in a larger business sense, it sounds exceptionally tempting and glamorous. But I think after all the experiences we've had, and this is a bill which is going to continue. It's not. The whole idea of this bill is long-term sustainability. Gestation periods are long. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So how do we guarantee this whole? I think the safety and security is exceptionally critical when we all talk. So I really don't know why this is, I think it's very, very important. Now, how are the loans going to be given? I was thinking about this, that when there is EPC, engineering, procurement, construction as an option, why would people go to this bank and take a loan? Especially when government is going to dilute, eventually will loans really be given at the way you are committing yourself? Are we over-committing ourselves? Because Mr. Jain Sinha in his speech was talking, what he said was very interesting. It sounded absolutely fabulous. He said over 30 years also, if there is a rupee-dollar situation, there will be hedges which will be given by the government, and for 30 years the rupee-dollar balance will be kept. How do you guarantee that? It sounds wonderful on paper, but is it really possible in reality, especially when you are the sovereign guarantee? You will reduce your investment to 26%. How are you going to guarantee this? It sounds like a dream. I don't want to use the word jumla, because this is a very serious thing. So this is not a political point. This is a very serious financial implications this bill is going to have on all our infrastructure projects. So I would like to know, when we have the EPC option, why would anybody come to this bank is my question to you. And how are you going to give this loans? And in 211A, they've said infrastructure at the discretion of the center. Even in that, Mr. Jayant Sinha talked about several projects. He says there'll be innovative ideas. What are the innovative ideas? Because we've burnt our fingers several times, and I would like to know what he talked about. Best talent solutions, he talked about innovation, capital markets, and world-class infrastructures. All sounds very, very glamorous in his speech. But we have had these banks, we have tried and done this experiment before. How is this experiment different than the earlier ones, when very professional people who are, I don't want to name them unfortunately here, but we've all known them at many places. We've all spoken on common platforms. Unfortunately, some are in jail, some have been good to their spouses and are under inquiry. So when such long-term loans are given, how are you going to manage full transparency and accountability in this? Even the hedge cost, the lending rates they're saying has come down, which is also in a part of the bill. And it says hedging costs in connection with any borrowing of foreign currency by the institution for the purpose of granting loans and advances of its repayment to insulate the institution from fluctuations in the rate and exchange may be reimbursed by the central government in part or full. Again, it goes back to my first point of the sovereign guarantee. So I think it's just going up and down about it. So I think I would like to just make one small point about Mr. K.V. Kamath, with the permission. I just would like to put a quote on him. What he has said, that India needs infrastructure financing. It's very important, but key is not to repeat the mistakes which has unfortunately happened in the past. And what he has said, which is most important, with all the efforts that the government is making, I would think that the sovereign rating itself would need to move up. Means our sovereign rating is not that good right now. I don't think that they can hold India's rating where it is. Wherever you look at, this rating is misplaced by the least a notch, if not more, is what he says. And even the Economic Survey 2021 has argued about India's sovereign ratings, which did not reflect its fundamentals. Never in history of sovereign created rating has the fifth largest economy in the world being rated at the lowest rung of the investment grade. It had noted adding to the damages of foreign portfolio investment flows. So I think he stressed that even global development banks' soft loans were not really soft. Excessive reliance on international funds would not be prudent. So I think this is my last point only. So I would like, we support this bill, but I think we must have complete clarity and transparency and professional behaviors. There are several countries, like China has done very well, but do we have that kind of financial discipline in our country to make sure that what has happened in Brazil and Singapore and Germany are wonderful experiences? We could role model on that, but are we committed to have other laws also in place to make sure that we have this discipline that all the others we are looking forward to? I buy your intent, but I still have reservations about a few things. If you would kindly address them. Thank you.
माननीय सांसद शिव कुमार उदासी जी.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you for giving this opportunity to speak on this important bill. I support this national bill for financing infrastructure ecosystem that will deepen the country's corporate bond market for infrastructure and financing. So this, in objects and reasons, the.
लेकिन जब भारत
चीफ मिनिस्टर से
धन्यवाद सभापति महोदय, जो आपने मुझे राष्ट्रीय अवसंरचना वित्त पोषण और विकास बैंक विधेयक 2021 पर बोलने का मौका दिया। सर, मैं अपनी बात तब से शुरू करना चाहूँगी जब भारत आज़ाद भी नहीं हुआ था, क्योंकि हमें यह भी जानना अति आवश्यक है कि हमने जहाँ से शुरू किया था और हम कहाँ पहुँच गए हैं। 1926 में जब भारतीय अर्थव्यवस्था को सुदृढ़ करने के लिए जब हिल्टन यंग कमीशन भारत आया था, तो उनके समक्ष बाबा साहब डॉक्टर भीमराव अंबेडकर ने प्रस्तुत होकर सब भारतीय रिजर्व बैंक की स्थापना की अनुशंसा की थी। आप सबको यह जानकर हैरानी होगी कि हिल्टन यंग कमीशन भारत आया तो उनके सभी सदस्यों के हाथ में बाबा साहब अंबेडकर की थीसिस, जो बाद में प्रॉब्लम ऑफ रूपी इन इंडिया के नाम से भी प्रकाशित हुई थी, उनकी रिकमेंडेशन पर ही आरबीआई एक्ट 1935 के गठन हुआ था और बाद में आरबीआई की स्थापना भी हुई थी। सर, आज हम डीएफआई की बात करते हैं। भारत हमारे जो विकासशील देश में आधारभूत संरचना के वित्त पोषण के लिए डीएफआई का प्रयोग सफल भी रहा है और लोकप्रिय भी रहा है, लेकिन जब भारत में इसकी चर्चा होती है तो इसके अतीत के कड़वे अनुभव भी स्मृति पटल पर आते हैं। अर्थव्यवस्था को गति प्रदान करने के लिए माननीय वित्त मंत्री जी ने हाल में जो विकास वित्त संगठन डीएफआई की घोषणा की, महोदय, मैं आपके माध्यम से पूर्व की सरकार और विकास वित्त संस्थानों के कार्यों के ऊपर सदन का ध्यान आकृष्ट करना चाहूँगी कि सर्वप्रथम 1948 में विकास वित्त संस्थान की स्थापना की गई थी। तदुपरांत 1951 में एसएफसी अधिनियम का गठन के बाद राज्य स्तर पर स्टेट फाइनेंस कॉरपोरेशन के गठन किया गया था। नियोजित आर्थिक विकास के शुरुआती दौर में 1955 में कुछ और डीएफआई जैसे आईसीआईसीआई और 1964 में यूटीआई का भी गठन हुआ था। 1970 से 80 के दशक में क्षेत्र में विशेष पर केंद्रित वित्तीय संस्थानों की स्थापना हुई थी। इनमें नाबार्ड, एक्सिम बैंक, एनएचबी और आरएचएफसी भी शामिल थे। भारत सरकार की मध्यस्थता, रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया द्वारा रियायती दर पर ऋण की उपलब्धता, बहुपक्षीय द्विपक्षीय एजेंसियों द्वारा उपलब्ध भारी कोष के बावजूद भी डीएफआई को बैंकों के संविधिक तरलता यानी लिक्विडिटी का अहर्ता नहीं दी गई। इस तरह से बैंकों के संसाधनों को डीएफआई को प्रदान करने के से देश के ऊपर वित्तीय दबाव बढ़ा है, जिनके वजह से कई डीएफआई का अस्तित्व समाप्त हो गया, जैसे कि यूटीआई। महोदय, जब बैलेंस शीट अल्पावधि उधारी व दीर्घावधि के जोखिम परिसंपत्तियों पर निर्मित होते हैं तो जोखिम प्रबंधन की समस्या अधिक होती है। कमज़ोर प्रोत्साहन और सरकार की संबद्धता से जुड़े नैतिक जोखिम तथा कमज़ोर नियमन आदि कारोबारी नाकामी के रूप में प्रतिफलित होते हैं। महोदय, डीएफआई की ढांचागत अवधारणा में त्रुटि है। इन्होंने बैंक या गैर बैंकिंग वित्तीय कंपनियों को बदलने की अनुशंसा है। आईडीबीआई और आईसीआईसीआई बैंक इसके उदाहरण हैं। आईसीआईसीआई बैंक और वीडियोकॉन का जो अभी मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग केस चल रहा है, महोदय, प्राइवेट बैंक्स जो नेशनलाइज बैंक की तरह ही अगर सरकार के प्रति उत्तरदायी होते हैं तो उन्हें प्राइवेट करने की ज़रूरत ही क्या पड़ती है, और यदि नहीं तो प्राइवेट बैंक्स के आरबीआई के साथ रिलेशन है वो किस तरह से होंगे, इसे भी क्लियरली सदन को बताना चाहिए। इस विधेयक में बहुत सारी त्रुटियां हैं और जिन्हें संशोधन की बहुत आवश्यकता है। मेरी एक और पॉइंट सर मैं बताना चाहूँगी, डीएफआई सबसे कमज़ोर कड़ी है कि भारत में बॉन्ड का बाज़ार अभी भी विकसित नहीं है। बाज़ार में मुख्यतः प्राइवेट प्लेसमेंट होती है जिनमें परिपक्व होने तथा रोके रखने जाता है, जैसे वित्तीय संस्थानों में बीमा और पेंशन। महोदय, मेरी पार्टी बहुजन समाज पार्टी की तरफ से इस विधेयक के संदर्भ में यह विचार है कि विकास वित्तीय संस्थान के निर्माण संबंधी समस्त तथ्य जो पीछे की गलतियां हुई हैं उनको भी ध्यान में रखकर और उनसे सीख लेकर आगे बढ़ने की आवश्यकता है। और मेरा मानना है कि इस महत्वपूर्ण विधेयक को मूर्त रूप में अमली जामा पहनाने से पहले कमेटी में भेजकर परिपक्व बनाया जाए। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Allowed to speak on the National Bank for financing
its own significance. That is why these countries, total 74 countries, they have adopted this. Because there is some kind of special kind of thing in this. Because government, when we are in search of good finance, we know that this can give us a very good support in that. That is the reason why they have adopted this. Not only that, India is having diplomatic relation with these countries. They are not interested in investing their money in America or any other country.